Hey everybody, Plasma 1945. Gonna give you a quick startup of the f-16 that is hot to get you up in the air on a server that's got them hot, such as Growling, Sidewinder. First things first, as soon as you get in the canopy, bring up your comms menu, talk to the ground crew, choose to rearm and refuel, choose your livery. I'll take my Red Star Black Squadron, and then I can choose my weapon loadouts. So for example, there's a whole bunch of AIM-120s there, and I can throw in a fuel tank, or if I want, I can change these out to put an AIM-9M, AIM-9X onto the wingtips. For those who don't know, do not put in the captive AIM-9M, because that is a training missile. It'll never go anywhere. The other thing that I always do is I switch to the high T Incendiary tracer weapons, and the reason I do that is because I'm going to go air to air and I want to see where my rounds are hitting. So I'm going to choose that, press OK, adjust your chaff and flare as required, and your board number. No worries there. Going to hit OK, and I'm going to request rearming. One important thing for those who are starting out from an FC3 plane, you must wait for the acknowledgement saying that the weapons have been attached and rearming complete before you do any taxiing. If you do not hear that, do the rearming again. Alright, so while that's happening, let's get this plane started up. So one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to start clicking things off. First things first, the comms menu down here, I'm going to turn it all the way down. It's right behind the switch there, COM 1. I'm going to turn it down so I don't have to listen to the radio guy talk to me. I'm not going to be talking to him. Next up, I'm going to go up to here and turn my symbology all the way to the right. There it is. And this turns on the brightness of your helmet. Next up, I'm going to go up to the controls for my chaff and flare and put that into semi mode, which means every time I press the appropriate key for chaff and flare, they're going to pop out. Next up is the power switch right here, and that is the power for your RWR. If it's not on, you're not going to have any notification that somebody's targeting you or shooting you. Alright, up from that, I'm going to go up to master arm, toggle that into the up position, and this way our master arm is turned on. So this is looking pretty good. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. Another cool thing that was shown to me is you've got some radio frequencies here. This is a really good idea from Striker from RS. Click on list and click on 2, and that'll actually show you your fuel state right here instead of having to look down over to your fuel gauges on the bottom right hand side. Now let's go back to the startup here and not get too distracted. The other thing you can do is you can adjust your brightnesses of your HUD. If your MFDs on each side are too dark, in each bottom left hand corner of the MFD there's a little toggle switch, and you can brighten them up as required. Alright, next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Dogfight Mode, and as you can see, things do change up a little bit here. And in Dogfight Mode, the right MFD is not going to be showing you your HSD, so it's not going to give you a situational awareness and data link because it's not programmed. So once I've hit Dogfight Mode, I'm going to click on that empty button here, click on it once, again, and then choose HSD. And now, as you can see, I've got the data link and contact information right back where it should be. If you don't do this and you're flying around and you switch into Dogfight Mode, you will actually have no information there, so just kind of no fun at all. Alright, so next up that I'm going to do is check my wings. There they are. Cool. Fuel tank should be attached, and I can find out by going down to the switch right here between my legs, and I can toggle its positions. So watch the fuel gauge over on the right hand side here as I go through the switch. External wing shows nothing. But external center says that I've got a little bit of gas there. And so this way I can watch for that external fuel tank to be exhausted, and then you can switch over to the wings and so forth. But by default, the switch here between your legs can toggle where to get the fuel from first, whether it's wings or the center tank. And when you toggle that, this won't change unless you roll the actual fuel quantity select switch to an appropriate position. But we can monitor the center to start with. A couple of other things to keep in mind. If things are not bright enough, the 3 switches here will increase all your instrument brightness. You can also go down to the switch here and it says day-night. Toggle that into the day mode, and that will give you the required level of brightness across most of your settings. Another interesting thing on the right MFD, once your HSD is up, the button second from the right top, or maybe the first square button on the right side underneath the symbology, it says XMT off. Tap that once until it says link 16, and now you're transmitting to fellow aircraft, so that if you target something, another F-16 will actually see that information appear on their HSD. Alright, so let's do a double check. Make sure that our helmet mounted display is on by setting symbology INC. And if we look around, there's the information. Apparently there's an F-14 coming in to get us. Make sure that our master arm is up. Make sure our RWR is lit up, and if it's not lit up, hit the system power button right there. Make sure our countermeasures are in semi-auto mode, so that you tap that countermeasure release and they'll go off. Over here by the side of your seat, you can actually see additional lights buttons. And right now they're set to norm. If we go F2, we've got all kinds of lights blinking on our aircraft. I would recommend that you go down here, and unless you're flying in fog at night or information, just set it all to off. If we look back at ourselves, now we are no longer blinking. So you're not a blinking target for aircraft that are looking at you visually. So if you're in a merge, that will definitely be a thing to have done. You don't want to be noticed by your aircraft being a big blinking target, right? Okay, so there we go. We've got the basic setup all set, and we are pretty much ready to rock and roll. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. There's our fuel. So all that is now set. Now, if you wanted to turn your ECM and you had an ECM pod attached, what you would do is you would go down to the set of panels. You would toggle S1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the empty button there as well. It would be set to operate mode, and then you would flag it into the XMIT 1 position. So now your ECM actually becomes active whenever somebody targets you. Keep in mind, whenever your ECM is going off, you are going to lose some of your radar capability. That's why don't bother bringing one in. And there we go, guys. The aircraft is all set for basic takeoff. Now you can switch your weapons if you want by going into air-to-air mode. And now we're in air-to-air mode. And by holding nose wheel steering long, you can switch between the 2 HOBs, which are the 2 sidewinders, or another long hold. And it says I have 4 MRMs, which are our AIM-120s. Cool. Alright, now I'm going to pretend to taxi out, and I'll show you guys how to get rid of the fuel tanks. You want to tap the nose wheel steering once, and hopefully you'll be able to nose wheel steer. If you've got it, of course, programmed. If you don't, then you're going to have a whole bunch of trouble like I just had.